Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. This is my post-market wrap-up on this Monday, January 6th, 2020. I need you to bear with me on this video. I'm going to cover a lot of things. I'm going to talk about things here that may get you a little rattled. But I want you to think about what I'm saying, and I want you to consider my track record. How many times have you personally heard me say something was going to happen and then it did? Quite frankly, I scare myself sometimes, but I really do believe I have an exceptionally keen insight into these markets, and mostly it's because I understand geopolitical events. Look, this market is being run by politics, by geopolitical events. That's the truth. So having an understanding of these things and how they're going to play out, just paying attention a little bit to what's going on globally, has allowed me to come out here. Tens of thousands of people all over the world follow my blog, follow this blog for a reason. And I say something, and invariably, it materializes. So, again, before you criticize me, before you, whatever you got to do, I want you to ponder it. When someone says something to you in life, your first reaction should be to pause. Pause, not to immediately fire back. Pause, reflect a moment, and then talk. This is how intelligent people communicate, all right? So with that said, let's start. Stocks finished higher across the board. People, not one of you that follow this blog is surprised. I explained to you that this would happen. Again, in your face, Greg is correct. Cryptocurrencies got bid up, silver got bid up, crude got bid up, but I want to talk about that in a moment. It's important. And stocks got bid higher, and we are not done. We're not done here. Just like I've been explaining to you time and time again. It's pretty incredible. So what I want to do here, and I'm going to end this video with a pretty profound statement. So I want you to pay attention, listen to what I go over here, and think about it. All right. So I want to do something with you here. I'm going to go over this kind of like a little blow by blow, because to say the least, this was this day was nothing short of miraculous, and kind of I don't know, maybe the opposite of that as well. I posted all day. Look, if you don't follow me on Twitter or Facebook, LinkedIn, you really should. I do a lot of extra stuff out there throughout the day. Look, my job out here, as far as I'm concerned, is to keep all of you ahead of this market. Ahead of this market. And I honestly and sincerely believe this. There's not another guy out here, no matter where you want to look, who has done that the way I have. I really care from my heart about you. I want you to succeed like you cannot believe in this environment of lies. And we haven't seen anything yet. And I mean anything, people. Today, specifically, before I get to where I'm scrolling through right now, we heard a few things which really should take you back and let you understand that. And I've said this before many, many, many times. There is something so dark, so hideous, lying underneath this, all of this. And that's why the lies and the propaganda must get worse. Way, way, way worse. Why the deliberate misleading of the people on a grand scale must occur. Look, I'm going to share something with you I have not shared before, ever. Right here and now. As you know, my YouTube channel here is pretty big. So I know this to be a fact for other channels that are bigger than mine. I was offered a large sum of money to spin things, and I won't do it. They can't buy me. There's just no way. But I know there are YouTube channels out here that have been bought. They are bought and paid for. So believe me, if I was offered funds to kind of spin the truth a little bit, to kind of not talk about certain things, well, you can rest assured that it's happening more than you know. So with that said, I really want you to understand, when you're following a particular person on YouTube, a particular blog, look at their track record. Is what they're saying true? Have they predicted things that have come to pass? Not years or whatever down the line. I'm talking in the here and now. Okay? And again, the only reason why I can do this, not because I have a crystal ball or anything like that. I study this stuff around the clock. I pay attention to what's going on. I refuse to be distracted. Look here. Don't look here. No. When you see that, when you're getting pulled in a certain direction and everything is leading to that one direction without showing the other side, understand there's an agenda there. It's not real. You're being misled deliberately by people that more than likely you trust and maybe even love. That's out here on YouTube. All right, so look, I want to start off with this, so we understand that the rhetoric between Washington and Iran is getting bigger. Okay, now this is where some of you may get offended, but I want you to hear me out here. If we go back to World War II and we look at what the Nazis did as their blitzkrieg, I can't even get the words out. Slaughtered people on an industrial scale, country to country. What did they do? What was the first thing? Literally the first thing they did was to strike cultural sites that are important, to strip the will of people. Now, the same thing occurred in recent history with ISIS. Same thing. They would march into where they have to do, whatever they were looking to conquer, and strike the cultural sites. Basically, striking at the hearts of men and women to demoralize them. You understand? This is how barbaric tyrants do their work. Now, today, we heard President Trump say it is justified, it is fair game, his words, to attack militarily cultural sites. President Trump is now in league. Please don't take my word for this and don't attack me. I am the messenger here. President Trump has now aligned himself with Nazis and ISIS. Okay, it's illegal. These are protected sites under national law. But President Trump said it's fair game. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh, it's just talk. He's the president of the United States of America. This is dangerous. So I hope you would agree. And if you don't, you need to think about why. Again, if you believe that Trump is correct, then you align yourself with Nazis, you align yourself with ISIS. Didn't we just take out an apparent terrorist? Yeah, I want you to think about that. So let's move forward here. I think that's a big one here, honestly. Multiple sites cover this. And again, it's being, if Trump were to do it, this would be a war crime. And again, it's just vile. Gold surged to a 7-year high. It's a safe haven asset. You know that. It's not just a safe haven asset. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, to me, these have proven to to be holders of real value, people, for thousands upon thousands of years. And no central banker is going to change that. That's what these things are. This is why this guy right here, has been urging all of you since I sat down here to hold hard assets, to bet against the debt, to become your own central bank. They're going to play their game. Their game is not over with price suppression of metals. It's not over. But as far as I'm concerned, and if you've heard me say this a gazillion times, every single time they beat it down is a buying opportunity, in my view, and I will never waver from that. I never have, and I never will. Let's move forward here. Brent crude today hit $70 a barrel. Let's stick to crude oil a little bit for a moment here. So it's no secret, crude oil has been getting bid up, as I explained to you, would happen and was going to happen. If you recall, before the second strike, before we killed this guy, I can't even say his name, the general, let's just call him that. The weekend prior, there were United States airstrikes carried out. Crude oil got a temporary boost. I told you, watch for another strike. They weren't happy with the temporary boost. What would happen? We hit them again. Crude oil went up. But crude oil right now, people, is having a hard time holding on to gains. This will not be allowed. This will not be allowed. Meaning, you can fully expect another strike, and more than likely a strike on a cultural site, a site of importance to people. Why? Divide and conquer. There are still going to be those in the Republican cult, not a Republican. Okay, they're not all cults, but there are some members that are actually in a cult. That no matter what the president does, it's justified. You got to be very afraid of the people on the either side of the extremes. The Democratic cult, these are extremists. The Republican cult, these are extremists. But again, the mechanism here is the same that it's been since time immemorial. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Keep the people angry at each other. This is what they do. It's a playbook that goes back to ancient times. It will not stop. So the fact that crude oil right now could not hold on to the gains it put on earlier is a scary prospect to me. You should be afraid as well. Absolutely no doubt about that. Let's move forward here. I want to read this to you. This is from Voltaire. Okay, I'm not even going to tell you who this guy is, because if you don't know who he is, you need to get educated. This is a statement. Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. Let that ring in your ears a little bit too. None of you are going to be surprised to find out today that the energy sector led the market. Again, this is a ploy. Prop up crude oil, the lifeblood of the military-industrial complex. The market will follow higher, period. Now, with regard to the financial sector, you know what? I'm going to check that for you real quick. Give me a second. Earlier, the financial sector was a laggard, slight laggard. We finished at the flat line with regard to the financials. The financial sector as a whole will get a boost as conflict increases. And that's the entire game here. Now, I know that those of you that follow this blog are honestly smarter than most people out here. Understanding that when we started to see the military buildup over there, carrier battle groups, anti-missile batteries, ballistic missile submarines, tanks, troops, and they're still going over there now. This started over a year ago. I came out and I explained to you we were going to have conflict. I got laughed at, ridiculed, told off by Trump supporters that no, he wants peace. He's not going to take the bait. He's not going to strike anywhere. But again, I was proven to be correct. And we're not done. Understand, we're not done. And there's a lot more to it. Give me a minute. I want to get to that. Now, I want to read this to you real quick. I posted this earlier. Lions and Friends. This is me. With Trump, even if aliens come flying out of his head, I want you to have expected it. His recent rhetoric is over the top. And myself, as a former United States naval officer, I'm telling you this. And I would be willing to bet most of you out here who are current members of the military or past members of the military, if you were told to bomb or strike a cultural site, you wouldn't do it. It would be an unlawful order. It's illegal. It is illegal. I don't care whose mouth it comes out of. These are international treaties, all right? But the rhetoric from our president, and I go on to say, America is not a Nazi nation. It's an incredible situation. But again, there are those that are going to back it up. It should frighten you a little bit. Again, it's the extremists. We have extremists here in our country. They're unable to find the middle ground. And there's a reason for it. They're deliberately polarized. They're deliberately put there, and they can't break out. No matter how hard they try, they can't do it. Defense stocks today, boom, took off. Just like I said a couple of days ago. It's absolutely incredible. It really is. And here, I just want to mention this real quick. Boeing is... Here, I'm going to read you the headline, then I'll tell you the translation that I put up. Boeing may raise more debt to curb losses from the MAX jet. Translation, raise debt to boost the stock price. You see where I'm going with this? It's an incredible thing. We also heard from none other than the man who promised us that the subprime, it was a crime, the subprime mortgage blow up that melted down the world, the last global meltdown here. Here, he's out again saying the Fed shouldn't rule out using negative interest rates. Now, who else has been calling for negative interest rates? Someone with an orange complexion and a very strange hairdo? Yeah, maybe. And I want to go on to this too real quick. People say to me all the time, and this is the truth. This is someone had wrote this to me. Greg, you're a genius with the market, but geopolitics not so much. This is what they write to me. And funny, it's the same people who do not understand that the key to predicting what's going to happen before it does is to understand geopolitics. I think I understand geopolitics to an extreme level. And that's the only reason why I'm able to beat the living piss out of this market, why I keep all of you way ahead of the curve. Okay, and then I get these people, Greg, you're really great at the market, but you really should keep politics out of it. Duh. Really? These people, they got something going on. They really, really do. It's absurd. Now, I want to read this to you, and I want you to ponder this, okay? Nothing here. This is me. I wrote this earlier. What we have seen and are about to see is in real time. What I mean is every missile strike, every attack, etc. has been planned to happen at a specific moment, at a specific place, set on a timeline. This is all well known. In advance, way in advance, every move and counter move has been hyper-analyzed, and it's not over by a large margin. So what you're witnessing now, the fact that we have military bases surrounding Iran and in most of the Middle East should tell you something. Again, it's all about the petrodollar for now. But I want you to keep that in mind, because there's something else going on, and I think most of you get it already, but I'm going to, again, at the end, when I finish, I'm going to spring this on you, and I want you to think about it seriously. Now, let's talk about this. This is Reuters. The yield curve flattened as well. Now, look, what do we know about the yield curve? First of all, it's completely fake. The entire debt market is rigged to the highest order. If the Fed were not in here buying all the debt, the repo operation, what do you think bond yields would be? No one's smart enough to know. So no one's smart enough to know, since the stock market is a derivative of the debt market, what the price of an actual share of stock would be. It's all fake. You know that. And I've explained to you that the Fed is about to go hyper-nuclear. I mean, their repo operations are going to be increased. Their debt purchases are going to be increased. The negative rates, we already have them in real terms here in the United States, because people who have interest-earning accounts, their interest earned is not keeping up with the real rate of inflation. These are negative rates. But you can't know that. You understand that? You can't know it. You're not allowed. Here's Jim Cramer today. Jim Cramer said stocks should have been way down at the start of the week. That's because Jim Cramer here, and I'm calling you out, Jim Cramer, and I know you have my phone number. I know we know the same people, Jim. You don't get it. Either that or you're a shill. You don't get the game. You can't tell people the truth, Jim. You can't explain to people what's really going on. No, you're getting too much money from CNBC because I know you're losing money on a lot of your investments. Not stocks, quite obviously, because the market's going up. But, yeah, Jim, why don't you give me a call? I would gladly be on your show. And we'll set the record straight, too. And I promise you I'll have people's heads spinning around. All right, now let's move forward here a little bit. This is what I want to talk about. And again, two things. Number one, and I explained to you earlier that there are paid shill YouTube channels. I know this for a fact because I was offered cash to become a paid shill YouTube channel. Well, there's a current paid shill YouTube channel pushing a very big lie, and I'm going to read this to you. The perverted lie being pushed by a particular shill YouTube channel is that the Fed and central banks are trapped. This is a complete falsehood. It's we the people who are trapped. We are slaves to the product of the central banks, which is debt. And their final solution, the central banks, is to issue more debt in epic amounts to own the world. So again, a shill channel that you need to avoid. Okay, let's move forward here. This is what I want to talk about here, and this is going to be my grand finale, and I'm going to let you off with this. So ponder everything I've covered so far, and I want you to know something here. What's the truth? What is the end game? What is the final solution? Something I've alluded to multiple times. Now I'm going to read this verbatim because I posted this and it's got a lot of feedback. It's kind of almost gone viral. I'll post this in the comment section to this video as well. Here we go. Are you ready? Do you want the truth? Few can handle it, but I'm going to put it out there. The end game for the banks and the military-industrial complex is to depopulate the earth via war and a major market crash, and then to issue in a totally new system. Now, people, I go on to say, all the pieces are in place. It's just a waiting game now. I want you to pause. I want you to think about what I just said. Listen to it. And like I said, I'm going to post this in the description of this video. I want you to think about it. I'm going to read it again. Do you want the truth? Few can handle it, but I'm going to put it out here. The end game for the banks and the military-industrial complex is to depopulate the earth via war and a major market crash, and then to issue in a totally new system. This should seem obvious to you. I would be willing to bet that some of you just had an epiphany moment, because this is the end game. Perpetual wars are eventually going to turn into a world war. And what plays right into this as well, people, is something I discussed a few years back: global debt and the human bubble. Now, I don't know how many of you have read that article, but I'm going to put a link to that article in the description of this video. I want you to ponder the things I've covered here. I want you to ponder the fact, and again, if you don't believe it, if you're new here, ask people. Is Greg scary right when it comes to geopolitical events, when explaining that a bombing or an attack is going to happen? Is Greg frighteningly correct? Or has he been frighteningly correct with regard to the stock market, where it's going to go, how it's going to play out? I want you to think about these things and then ponder what I have just left you off with. And I want to hear from you. I'm going to read the comments. People, with that said, I believe sincerely I have covered exceedingly important topics here. Probably the most important things. Understanding what's going on. The end game. The dark, hideous underbelly of this. Where we're going. There's no doubt about it. And I know how frightening this may seem to you with young children, or those of you that, just had maybe your whole world kind of turned around. But I want you to understand where you are. I want you to see things and understand. Watch, when I say something, it tends to happen in short order. So I don't pull this stuff out of a hat. I'm not trying to be dramatic here. The pawns are all in place. It's now a waiting game. With that said, please share the video. Check out those links in the description of this video. Very important. This guy loves you from the heart. I'll see you in the morning.